Introducing Meta Ray-Ban Display, the world's most advanced AI glasses. With a full color display built into the lens of the glasses, it's there when you need it and gone when you don't. Send and receive messages, translate or caption live conversations, collaborate with Meta AI, and more. Be one of the first to try Meta Ray-Ban Display. Visit meta.com/Meta Ray-Ban Display to book a demo and find your pair.
Once upon a mundane morning, Barb's day got busy without warning. A realtor in need of an open house sign. No, 50 of them, and designed before 9.
My head hurts.
Any mighty tools to help with his plight? Aha! Barb made her move. She opened Canva and got in the groove.
Bulk creating Canva sheets. Create 50 signs fit for suburban streets.
Done in a click, all complete.
Sweet!
Now, imagine what your dreams can become when you put imagination to work at canva.com.
The Dental Download podcast is your source for insight from conversations with fellow dentists, specialists, and leaders in the industry. With new episodes every Monday morning, I'm your host, Dr. Haley. Let's get into this week's episode. Hello, everyone. I'm so excited today. I connected with another awesome dentist on TikTok. We love social media. So thank you so much for being here. Could you introduce yourself for us and tell us a bit about your background in dentistry?
Yeah, guys. Well, I'm Ton Nguyen. I am a practicing dentist here in Nashville. I graduated right at the beginning of COVID, so in May of 2020. So I'm about 5 years out now. And I practice in Nashville. I own 3 offices right now. Have worked at DSOs, have worked at private practice. I did like a little stint at a Medicaid clinic. So I have ran the entire gamut. I've learned a lot, and I'm just excited that that Haley and I connected over TikTok. I think social media, when done right, can be just a powerful agent for connecting people. So super glad that we got to meet and excited to share my useless but sometimes useful words of wisdoms.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love all your videos. You're also married. You're a dad of 2 young kids. So you're balancing multiple practices, recent startup, family life, and you share a lot of that on your page. So we'll kind of dip our toes into a little bit of everything. And then I'm sure people will be very interested and want to go over to your page to learn a bit more. But we'll kind of walk a little bit through your journey before these practices. So tell me about when you worked in other practice models. For you personally, what were some of the pros and cons you noticed, and how did you decide what you wanted to carry into your own practice?
Yeah. So let me just preface everything by saying that. So I grew up in Iowa. So I went to high school in Iowa. I went to dental school, undergrad in Iowa. I went to dental school in Iowa. So I spent my entire life in Iowa. But after graduating, my girlfriend at the time, now wife, she's a PA, and she got a job in San Antonio. And she was like, "Do you want to go to San Antonio?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's go to San Antonio." And the thing is that, I mean, I knew no one in Texas, in San Antonio. So it was just right when like COVID shutdowns were happening, and finding a job was pretty difficult. Just graduating, moving to a brand new state, not knowing anyone. And so I applied to like every single job out there. And it was a mix of DSOs, private practices were a little iffy on hiring at that time. But I interviewed with like a couple of the big DSOs, and I kind of knew the entire time that truly that I wanted to work for a DSO. Now, hear me out. I know that in dental school, and actually in practice right now too, a lot of people just love to crap on DSOs and whatnot. However, my thinking at the time, and actually my thinking now, is that you don't get to grow that big without having systems in place. So systems for doctor onboarding, or at least my thought process is, you don't get that big without having set systems for patient onboarding, doctor onboarding, marketing, accounting, all of these different things. So I thought that me joining a TSO, that one, they would probably keep me really busy. Number two, that I would be able to pick up some insights on how a large organization runs. And so, yeah, I joined Deca Dental. So they are the parent company of Ideal Dental. So at the time they were like 80 offices in Texas, but since then they have kind of grown into Florida, Tennessee, Georgia. So they have definitely grown larger. But I mean, I had a great experience. So my initial thought process was like, they are going to have this robust training program for new grad dentists, and like that's what everyone kind of pitches you on, right? Is like, we have this playbook for new grads, and this is what you have to do XYZ, and then you'll have a mentor. But I had 2 weeks where I was training under another doctor, and like that was helpful. But then I was just kind of thrown into this office, this new startup, um, where we were seeing, I don't know, 100 new patients a month. And so when you were thrown into the firelight like that, you kind of have to learn fast, and you have to get good and fast, because that's the only way to make it work in an environment like that. So
All right, fellow dentists, are you feeling overwhelmed by student loans or confused about your financial future? Our sponsor, Twin Leaf Financial Advisors, specializes in financial strategizing tailored for dentists. They'll guide you through managing debt, saving smarter, building wealth, and planning your future. Don't let money stress you out. Their expert team is here to give you peace of mind so you can spend more time doing what you love. Visit twinleafadvisor.com. TWINLEFADV.com, or text 321-521-3133 for a free consultation. With Twin Leaf Financial Advisors, your financial freedom starts now.
I was there when from we were doing like, I don't know, 40 to 50,000 a month initially, and then we grew it into like two doctors being there, having an orthodontist there, having an oral surgeon there. So it was really great seeing this thing grow. Like, I mean, I know that it wasn't my office because it was a DSO office, but like I played a big part in that growth. And really, that really did help me, um, for when I did open up my own startup, and just relying on those things. So yeah, so I did that for about 2 years. And then girlfriend at the time, now wife, but 2 years in, we got engaged, and we are like, man, I think it's time that we just kind of figure out what our next step is, because we weren't gonna live in Texas forever. And so we just kind of threw a dart on the map. We knew that we wanted to be a little bit closer to the Midwest, but we hate the cold. She's from Michigan, originally, so we said, let's do Nashville. And so we went to Nashville, and we loved it. And so a month or two later, well, I gave my notice, and then a month or two later, we moved to Nashville, and we didn't know anyone in Nashville or anything. And so my first job here in Nashville, man, I lasted like 2 months. It was at Medicaid clinic, but like it wasn't an FQHC or anything. It was just, uh, it was like a pseudo private practice clinic that was seeing 10 care patients. So 10 care is the Medicaid version for Tennessee. And just like, I mean, there was definitely a lot of need, but just the organization of the office was was not great. And like, um oh, here's one pearl of advice, and just a mindset shift. I mean, at the DSO at the time, so at DECA, I mean, I was being paid on 25% of adjusted production, right? And then in this associateship here in Nashville, I was making 35% of adjusted production, and like, man, that sounds like I'm getting a huge raise. Holy crap, this is really good. But like, you just have to think about the payer mix. So your payer mix determines, I mean, your fee schedule, so the fees on the procedures that you are getting. But just also, just as importantly, I mean, this term adjusted production, like what is adjusted production, right? So you have your office fees and then you have your insurance write-offs. And then a lot of people think that, okay, so that's where this ends. So then this is my adjusted productions. But legalese, I mean, these super big DSOs are so good with playing with their language and just this term adjusted production varies from one contract to another. And so like even though you might think that you are being paid on what you think is adjusted per production, I mean you can structure these contracts so that you are essentially being paid on collection. So that's just a pearl of advice for you. But yeah, so where am I? So it was a Medicaid clinic, and man, I lasted there about 2 months, and really, it was just the organization. So going from a TSO that was like pretty well polished in terms of operations and having equipment, having the right supplies, having staff that were really good, and then being thrown into this new environment where you didn't have that. Like it's like I could ask for equipment and supplies and stuff, and they would certainly get it for me. But just like the vibes were not right, so I left there quick because I found another associateship. Man, Haley, I'm yapping right now. So feel free to interject whenever because I can yap for days.
No, you're fine. You're just chronicling the journey. I don't need to prompt you. So you left
Yeah.
the Medicaid office. I mean, I have a couple, my recent guest was a Medicaid, primarily private office, and then same with one of my best friends. And I can just compare like what I'm doing here in rural Michigan at a fee for service office to what they're doing. And whatever, maybe who's making this, who's making that, whatever. The amount of work that they need to do compared to the amount of work that I need to
Yeah.
do to make the same amount of money is insane. And
Yeah.
I've had some dentists, like, and new grads and things ask me, like, well, is it really all that bad if I'm doing 7 times the amount of work at one of these clinics because I'm just going to get better because I have all the reps? And I'm like, yeah, like that's a
Yeah. Yeah.
perspective, but you're gonna burn yourself into the ground and hate your life. And don't you want to work till you're whatever 50 at least?
Right.
So
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
why do
Yeah.
you want to ruin your life in your first year or two of practice to make the same amount of money? Like, yeah, maybe you're doing a ton of reps, but is it quality that you're able to put out there?
Of
And
course.
like,
Right.
what is it? Is it really worth it? So I don't know your perspective on that too.
Yeah. Yeah. So no, you are 100% right. So I think at whatever stage in your life, it is so important to have like a 1 year goal, a 3 year goal to like a medium term, but then also having like a long term goal and just you have to work backwards because I mean, if you are able to gain just a lot of reps in a short amount of time, that's a good thing if that's what you need and if that's going to set you up for your next stage and so because a lot of times a lot of new grads need mentorship, but I feel like a lot of new grads just need reps. And just if you can do a lot of reps while still maintaining clinical excellence, then that's going to set you up for your next stage where you can hopefully get paid a lot more because I mean working in just that fast pace of an environment for a super long time, I mean that is a one-way ticket to burning yourself out and hating dentistry and then going on Facebook and going on social media groups saying I hate this profession, I feel like I was duped, and just you hear that so much, and that's really just an expression of burnout because I mean these doctors aren't aren't valued and they're just working in really crappy environments, and that's what leads to this resentment towards this profession. So yeah, let me cut this short here. But yeah, so I was at a private practice for about a year, and that one I mean I was making a lot of money. I am just the one thing that you are always going to get from me is you are always going to get candidness, and I am comfortable with sharing numbers on everything. I was making I don't know, that 1 year there, $400,000, no, $450,000 as a W-2 associateship. But I mean, in my heart, in my gut, I was like, man, I can do a better job than this if this was my own organization. So I left that job and I opened up my first startup. So uh, it was a DSO office. Parent company was Marquis Dental. During like the 2021, 2022 zero interest rate environment. I mean, DSOs were just expanding left and right. They were, I mean, money was so cheap that they were just expanding for the sake of expanding, right? And so, Marquis Dental built this office in like 2022, like it was brand new, and they shut it down after like 6 months because they just couldn't properly staff it. So I mean, it was like a 2,800 square foot office, newly built, all chairs, all equipment, et cetera, et cetera. And we bought that office for 150,000. Like it was an insane deal. And just, if you're in the process of building your office, especially here in Nashville, I mean, construction costs are insane. So like that same 2,800 square foot office would have cost, I don't know, $800,000 just to build the space and put the chairs in and the equipment in. So saved a ton of money there. But I mean, that comes with a huge risk too. So I mean, it probably sounds like I've been saying so many good things about DSOs having like a set playbook and knowing how to operate things, but taking over a previous DSO space, I mean, the number one gut check and like the gut question that I had was like, man, if this super large organization, if they couldn't make it work, like what makes me think that like I can make this space work? And let me tell you, like, I think there's so much fear about DSOs, rightfully so, changing the practice of dentistry. However, I just need to make it known that for especially young dentists who are just coming out, if you spend a little bit of time learning about the business of dentistry, like DSOs cannot compete against you. Like there will always be room for a hungry, motivated, go-getter dentist. Like that's always gonna exist. And just having even an ounce of business savviness, like it is going to take you so far that you should not be worried about Aspen Dental taking over. I'm done on my rant.
I'm curious too. You guys picked Nashville because you thought it would be awesome for you as a couple, as a future family. You love the area. It made sense with like where your extended families were located. You know, you always hear it's going to be more saturated, more competitive in,
Yeah.
you know, a big city or suburbs around it, wherever your offices are. What were your thoughts on that? Were you just so confident that I know how to run a good office that doesn't matter where I am, like patients will come because of what I'm going to offer?
Yeah, I think that there are two ways for you to take a look at this like competitiveness aspect or going to a city that's like super popular, right? So on one hand, you can think of it as, I mean, shoot, that means that there's a lot of competition there. Or you can think of it from the other end of the spectrum, where that also means that there's a lot of people moving to this city. And I mean, each day here in Nashville, there's 100 brand new people who are moving into Nashville. 100 new people every single day need a dentist. So just, I mean, you can choose to frame this urban versus rural conversation in this negative mindset, or you can think of it from an abundance mindset. But I have just always believed that you can put me in any city. I'm probably gonna make it work. And like I know that that sounds incredibly cocky, and I promise you, I am trying to say that like as humbly as I can. But just there's always gonna be a place wherever you go for a dentist who is warm, who is inviting, who who cares about the patients, because I to population is not everything.
Hmm.
Yeah,
And
that's
I
what I believe.
Yeah, and I mean, you're
Yeah.
clearly to your core entrepreneurial. You knew you wanted your own office and now offices. But there are definitely people out there that aren't so inclined to that, but still love dentistry. And I mean,
Yeah.
they're your perfect people because they are your workhorses at your practice, your associates too. What questions do you think people should be asking themselves, or maybe what books do you recommend they read if they're trying to figure out, like, do I want to be an owner just because that's what people say dentists do?
Yeah.
Or am I content being an associate with a good, steady income?
Yeah. No, no. I think that the number one KPI that every single dentist, associate, owner, dental student needs to prioritize in their life is really, I mean, are you happy? That's the number one index that you should be optimizing for, because like, I mean, you can make a little bit more money, but with that comes a lot of trade-offs. But you just have to just ask yourself, like, are you happy where you are at? And truly, if you are happy doing what you are doing, and if you are making enough money where you feel valued and competent, I mean, keep doing what you are doing. Ownership is not for everyone. It's hard. It's absolutely hard. Dentistry, it is hard. But just if you are happy, keep doing what you are doing. The grass is not always greener. Like I think so often, especially in dentistry, like we kind of cling onto other people's dreams. So when I was getting out of dental school, I mean, I was listening to so many podcasts, and like everyone was just talking about, I don't know, all on X and multi-practice ownership and just so many people kind of get wrapped up in this. Oh my God, like that's what I need to do in order to be happy. Like I need to get really good at dental implants and doing full arch stuff because that's what's going to make me happy. Or I need to keep chasing this multi-practice ownership thing because that's what's going to make me happy. And like that's not for everyone. And even today, like even right now, I mean, there's just this huge wave of unless you are doing full mouth rehabilitation on every single patient, you're not a dentist, you're not a real dentist. Or unless you are doing these no prep veneers, you're not a real dentist. And like just, I mean, gosh, I know that originally I said that social media can be such a powerful tool for good, but it can be such a negative tool for our own mental health when we just cling on to these other people's idea of success. And we have to define that for ourselves. And just truly, I think being a parent has kind of um, changed my entire mindset and just made me a much more grounded person. Prioritizing what makes you happy is so freaking important, and just don't cling on to other people's ideals of success. Check in with yourself. That would be my advice.
Yeah, I hear you. I mean, you would just have to look within and see, like, okay, people do this, people do that, but like, what do I want? And the kind of nice thing is, like, ownership really never goes off the table. Like,
No.
you can do it when you're 28, you can do it when you're 38 or 48. Like, I know people that I've had on this podcast that there's a time in their life when they want to do it, or some people there's never a time. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's a lot of different ways to go about it.
Yeah.
Before your last couple minutes with us, last thing I want to know is
Haley,
balancing.
I can
Yeah,
spend some more time too. So at my office, we have a couple docs, and he texted me that I could spend some more time. So however much time you need to get through, however many questions. So yeah,
I love that. See how great it is to delegate and have associates
yeah,
now that you're at your level of multiple offices.
yeah, right.
But I want to know, you mentioned being a dad in your last question, just how it's kind of reframed the way you look at life and what you want for yourself and everything. So tell me more about fatherhood and, having your family, but also having these multiple businesses.
Yeah, I think that this idea of work life balance is I I think it's just a myth. At least for me, I am trying to figure it out every single day. And like truly, that is the hardest part about going into ownership and having two young children is that, man, having kids is hard. It is a lot harder than opening up your own office. I can tell you that much. And so, yeah, it's I it's something that I'm like actively working on every single day. And just um one rule that I have is that I must make it home to have dinner with my kids and help my wife put my children to sleep. And just yeah, so my wife's not working anymore. She was a PA. And um I think for men, that's something that's also not talked about enough is just for so many women, like they are professionals. I mean, they're PAs, they're doctors, they're dentists, and then one day they have a child and they are just expected to be mom now when and like she is staying at home now. And the point that I'm trying to make is that that was an adjustment that like I wasn't used to. It is like, how do I accomplish my own goals, but like how do I support my own wife in her own pursuit of her own identity? Because I mean, she's more than a mom. She is a PA too. She was a healthcare professional. And just like my societal expectations were just that she's now going to be a stay-at-home mom. Like I was so what I'm trying to say is that fatherhood, I think, is even easier than what women in dentistry and the societal expectations that you guys have on you. So that's like a whole another conversation that we need to have. But for me, at least, it's balance. It's trying to balance. How do I ensure that our businesses are thriving? How do I make sure that I'm a good husband to my wife? How do I make sure that I'm a good dad to my children? But the great thing about being an owner is that if there's something out of balance, like, I can change it. So if me being open until 6 o'clock is just like, if that's not good for my home life, like I'm willing to sacrifice that last hour and say, shit, let's just work through lunch. Let's close at 5 just so I can get home and help my wife out. Right. So that's been the nice thing about ownership, is that you can optimize for whatever you want. Um, but yeah, this idea of work-life balance, I don't have it figured out. And now with having like 3 offices, I'll be honest with you, it's even less figured out. But my rationale, my thinking at least, is that my kids are young. One is like 10 months old, so he's still kind of a potato. He doesn't really know that I'm gone so much. Yeah, it's hard trying to figure it out.
This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can find options that fit your budget and potentially lower your bills. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Yeah, I mean, you're putting in all the effort to hopefully build a really strong foundation and, you know, future for them. So it's a balance. Like you said, you just have to work hard and hope that you're doing things that'll make them proud when they realize it when they're older, right?
Yeah. I think one other thing too, and like my wife and I have this conversation all the time, is like, is the motivation, or is my motivation for this really to like, is it for the betterment of them, or like, is it for my own selfish ego? And like that's just being extremely candid here, but like those are the questions that I wrestle with. And yeah, it's checking in with that, because like, I mean, in my experience, like just doing more and more and opening more offices, or just adding on more doctors, like certainly there's an element of like, yeah, because I want a better life for my family, absolutely. But like deep down, I'll be honest with you, there's also absolutely an ego component to it too. And just that's just the reality for me, at least. And like, for my own personal aspirations and just seeing what I can do. Knowing yourself, journaling, writing things down, I think is so helpful. Yeah.
Absolutely. And before I let you get to your work day,
Yeah.
I just want to hear kind of one closing piece of advice for people that are just starting their career journeys as dentists.
Yeah. I think my closing advice would be to always optimize for what you want in life. And just what I mean by optimizing is figuring out what makes you tick, what makes you happy, checking in with yourself and ensuring that you are happy. Because so many of us, I mean, we have gone through 4 years of undergrad, and then right away we went through 4 years of dental school, and then immediately after that we like start our first jobs, and just we, for so many people, we've never had a job, and just being thrown in profession without having any real world experience, it's really, really, really difficult. And so often, like, you just don't know what the heck is going on. Like, you don't know what you are doing clinically, but also like professionally and in your own life. But you just need to check in with yourself and ensure that you are doing things for yourself and optimizing your own happiness. And like, the great thing that I have found just throughout my 5 years of practicing is that dentists as a profession, like, we have some amazing people in this profession, and just everyone that I've met is just so kind and warm and just willing to share their own pearls of advice. And really, like, I don't want you to think of that office down the street as your competition. I mean, they are not your competition. They are your colleague. You know what your real competition is? I mean, it's that brand new TV. It is that brand new truck. That's what you are competing against. It's not that dentist down the street. And just, I hope um that dentist, we just continue to band together and just make our profession a lot better, because it's such an awesome profession. And just, there's always going to be room for really talented and kind dentists in this space.
Absolutely. And I mean, you're one of them. And I love what you're doing with sharing everything online, just the highs and the lows, the good and the bad, being really open about it, because it helps people, like you said, figure out what they want and how they want to live their lives. So thank you so much
Yeah.
for sharing today.
Yeah. Absolutely, Haley. Anything else?
No, that is it. Thank you.